Hello everyone, how are you doing? My name is Brian and I'm here for some mathematics today. Hope you're all doing well. And as always, I know exams are in the neighborhood, so if you guys do have some exam questions, feel free to drop them into the chat or into the Discord server. !DC will get you into the Discord server. I don't have anything to do immediately right off the bat, although I was invited into a rather fun little Discord channel, and I've been just checking it out, and I think it's time that we borrow some of PuzzleAndy's stuff, because there's some cool stuff happening here. I wanted to try... There was one, I think, in the miscellaneous that I thought was interesting. So we will nab that and we will start thinking about this one first.
Time for a pop quiz.
So what do we know here? We know here that the red lines are congruent. They are congruent, so they are the same length. And we want to prove that the red and the blue paths all have equal length. Now I wonder if we can assume that these are squares. Probably we shouldn't do that. We probably shouldn't. What? The stream to learn how to paint ceilings? What? Why are we painting ceilings? Is that what your exam is about? Limes, hello, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Is this a question about painting ceilings? I don't know, I just thought it was interesting. I felt like I kind of had a way to start thinking about it. Oh, just painting your house. Oh man. Do we get color? Like, should we guess at the color? Blue. Is it blue? Is it white? Okay, so if we have... I mean, we could make a 90-degree bisector right at these black points. And if we bisect that angle, that means these are going to be 90-degree angles. And I'll put maybe like a little alpha in here, right? So we know that this is like angle alpha, angle alpha. Let's just divide that angle right in half. Now, if we do that there, we should be able to do the exact same thing over here so that these also become little alphas. Little alphas. All of the rectangles are identical. Okay. That will be helpful. But yeah, I think we need a way to start thinking about the red lengths and the blue lengths, right? So for example, if maybe we call this one like length X, and we call this here length Y, we could probably start popping together some right angled triangles, right? So I guess well, we only need to do it once too, right? Because they're all the same. And then we just need to multiply that by 3. But we will need to figure out, I guess, Are all of these going to be y as well? Do those have to be y, or could they be something else? Could they be a multiple of y? I guess not, because the other length is fixed, right? The other side is length x, so this is still x inside here. So we basically have that the hypotenuses are the same, one of the legs are the same, and the inner angle is the same for all of these triangles, so these must be y as well, right? They have to be. Okay, so I guess if we do a little Pythag on this, so if we say like the red, maybe I'll just call it the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse squared should be the sum of the lengths of the other two squares. And we have 3 of them. So each hypotenuse should be x squared plus y squared under the root. And we actually have 3 of them, right? So what do we need to do? We need to show that 3 h's, which is 3 times this, is this equal to x plus 3y. So prove that the red and blue paths, right? So we have 1h is given by the square root. And x plus 3y will get us over to there. Yeah, okay, I think that's right. Uno, dos, tres. So if that's the case, I mean, yeah, I guess if we knew some of the number, I guess if we assign numbers to this, I guess that might be helpful. But I don't want to assume that these are length 1. Yeah, I don't want to assume that they're length 1. I don't think we need to. How does this work? I could always do the squared length as well, right? I mean, if the squared lengths are... How does this work? Okay, so if I have 2 lengths, and they're the same length, and I square them, their squared lengths should be the same too, and that we don't have to fuss around with square roots. I feel like we're going to be missing a factor of 3 somewhere, though. So if that's the length of one red line, we could multiply by 3. Be a little careful here. All right, what am I missing here? Is this more than a Pythagorean theorem problem? I guess I could get rid of y, couldn't I? I could probably get rid of y by, if we assume these are squares, we could probably say this is like x plus some unknown. I'm not sure that's helpful though. So we must be able to get rid of, we must be able to make a substitution somewhere. And I bet it has something to do with knowing what some of these angles are. So let's see. These are going to be isosceles triangles, aren't they? Is that helpful? That means that the base angles are the same. And do we know what beta is? Beta is 180 minus 2 alphas over 2. 180 degrees minus our other angle, right? So a single beta should be 180 minus 2 alphas over 2. So it should be 90 degrees minus alpha. Oh yeah, of course, that makes sense. Ha! But I'm just, how do we make that work? How do we make that work? So I wonder if there's a relationship between x and y we can use here as well. There must be a relationship between x and y. If these are truly the same length, maybe we could just pretend algebraically and see what happens. So if we pretend that these two things are the same length, I'm just pretending. If we agree that that's true, what we could do is we could square both sides. We could expand the left side, so we get x squared plus 6xy plus 9y squares, and this will be 9x squares and 9y squares. And just for sake of argument, let's maybe get rid of those. And if we did want to solve this in C, we could probably get a relationship between x and y, right? So if we subtracted that x, we subtracted this 6xy, and we factor out some stuff. So I guess let's divide by 2 first. And we know that x is not 0, so I guess we could technically divide by x, but let's factor it out. So 4x minus 3y. Huh. That's going to be the relationship we're looking for right here. Right? We need 4x minus 3y to be 0 in order for our algebra to work out properly. So if I want to solve for y, I should be able to show or convince myself that y is 4x over 3. So could we convince ourselves that as long as y is in this ratio, we should be able to make this work? Okay, let's hold that thought for a second. Because I did have to do some I have to go across the equal sign there a little bit. So let's go back, and we know that this is the red path. 3 of these. If it's true that x and y share this relationship, what would that give us? That would give us 3x squared plus, we need y squared, so 16x squared over 9. Oh, okay, so we need the 16 up top because we were going to add another 9x squares to it. Oops, we got the 9 here. So that's going to give us what? 3. There's going to be 25x squares over 9. Okay, so that gives us 3 times 5 times x. We're assuming x is positive over 3. Beep, 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 beep. So we get 5 x's. I guess over here, if we start with x plus 3y, and we try to sub in our 4/3, we get plus 3, 4x over 3, and we get 5x as well. Okay, so this is what we need to be able to prove to ourselves. If we can prove that that's true, the algebra seems to work out okay. So is it possible to show that x and y have to be in this ratio? If they are in this ratio, we're happy days, happy days. Let me just collect my thoughts here. I wonder if we're going to have to zoom in on one of these right-angled triangles. I feel like we're going to have to... Are we going to have to use like a similar triangle argument in here? That's kind of maybe what it feels like. Because I know that y should be x plus a little bit. And if we kind of zoom into these two triangles, maybe that's where we can find the relationship we need. So if we know this is 90 degrees, we have another 90-degree triangle in here. We have... Well, we know how long this is. This is x. This whole distance is y. Should I assume that this is x? kind of look like squares. I think we can. I think let's just assume that it's x plus some small value. Right, and our goal is to figure out what that small value is. If this is alpha, and beta's up here, this must also be alpha. So these are similar triangles. So what do we know? We know that if we take the full length, we know that, for example, y over x should be equal to e over this little bit here. Oh, I can probably make this a little bit easier. I think if we go under the assumption that this distance is x, then it's going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. It's going to take 4 x's to equal the same distance as 3 y's. So maybe we just have to make that assumption. Nice. Hello, how are you? I think we might just have to make the assumption that that length is x. So that gives us our x is equal to, or we wanted to solve for y. That gives us our y is equal to 4x over 3, and then the algebra checks out. So maybe it's something like that. We have to make an assumption, I guess, that these are squares. But if we make the assumption that these are squares, then we have everything works out properly. Cool. May you ask a question? Absolutely. And I'm sorry that you're feeling meh. Oh, PuzzleAndy assumed length 1. Assumed length 1. So I did a general case. That's kind of a fun proof, though. Very cool. I'm going to let him know that the general case was solved on stream. But yeah, feel free to post up a question if you want, Noise, and we can take a look at that. And I'm going to gear up the next question that I thought would have been interesting to look at here. I thought this was kind of this is an interesting question about Manhattan distances. What is the gamma function for? Oh no. I'm pretty sure the gamma function is a generalization of some of our combinatoric stuff, but it works for complex numbers. I haven't studied the gamma function that well. But actually, let's not look at Wikipedia. Wikipedia is stupid. Let's look at Wolfram. I mean, equally as stupid, but at least they're very mathy. So yes, so the gamma function is an extension of the factorial to complex and real number arguments. So gamma of n is equal to n minus 1 factorial. However, I think it gets turned into, I want to say it gets turned into a integral function when we look at it in complex land. Yeah, here it is. It turns into a weird integral function involving e's and stuff like that. but it's supposed to be an extension of the factorial notation to complex world. It's a little bit weird because you don't integrate the same way in complex land. You integrate by like making circles around poles, typically is usually the easiest way to integrate. So it's not going to be intuitive, is what I should say. It won't be intuitive how to work with that integral. But if you do want to, I want to say, I think 3 blue, 1 brown? They made a really interesting video on the gamma function on YouTube. I'll see if I can find it. YouTube gamma function, 3 blue, 1 brown. But they have a very good introduction to how to think about the gamma function, from what I remember. Definitely worthwhile to take a look at it. No, this is physics and math. I want 3 blue, 1 brown. I'll see if I can find... Can I search their videos? I think it's here, right? What am I looking for? The gamma function. That won't search inside of 3 blue, 1 brown. Come on. Oh, I have to search here. Visualizing the Riemann zeta function. An analytic continuation. Yes, that is probably the one you want to look at. It's a pretty lengthy video, 20 minutes, but it does a pretty damn good job at introducing some of the main concepts you need to start thinking about how this looks like in complex land. So that I won't play this obviously for copyright infringement purposes, but that's going to be the video you want to take a look at. It's really, really interesting. They'll be able to explain it a lot better than I will, just because I've never studied it. But from what I can remember, the gist of it is, let's say you have a function that works in like the half plane. I think this is the gist of it. So, you know, if I have a function that works here, sometimes I'm kind of curious about if I can extend it to work on the other side of the plane, or that it could be any kind of cut. You know, I'm just using the half plane for funsies. But sometimes you want to be able to take this function f that works really, really nicely over here and somehow extend it. So you kind of like have a man-made part that makes everything continuous and nice. In complex land, it's usually called making these. We want to make like conformal extensions is usually what we want, so that remember, angles was really important. Like preserving angles is really important in complex land. But that's kind of the idea. This is the idea of trying to extend a mapping, and I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, the Riemann zeta function does that. And then you get some like kind of oddities that pop out of trying to make this continuation. Do I teach complex analysis? I have before, but it's been a couple years. I'd have to review my notes. But I definitely don't teach it at that advanced of a level. I could teach an introductory complex analysis course. What about real analysis? I've never taught real analysis. But again, an introductory level course wouldn't be too bad. As long as it doesn't squirrel away from me, because it's been a long time since I've studied a lot of the like topological elements, right? Or a lot of the like advanced analysis elements. Specifically working with, because limits usually start with sequences, and then we look at kind of double sequences. So you look at kind of single sequences, and then you look at what happens for x's and y's, right? Like double sequences, like what's happening to the y sequence as the x sequence does stuff. And then you start moving past that, you start looking at like sequences of functions, and that's where analysis starts to get a little bit crazy. Or like specialized techniques for dealing with kind of these advanced sequences and series problems too. What is the Riemann zeta function exactly? That's a great question. All I know is that it's a continuation map of something that exists already. See if I can find a picture. So this is kind of the explanation here, right? Like we have this really, really nice map that works over here for kind of the numbers in the positive plane. There's a little bit of a gap between 0 and 1. Essentially, we're not exactly sure what's happening right there. But the idea is we want to be able to mirror this image over on the other side as well. And so that's kind of the idea. You want to try to extend it out, make it work on the other side, and it ends up that you end up falling into this like little weird trap where there's kind of like a slice of the function that just doesn't really make sense to talk about, and there's been a lot of discussion about what happens inside that little slice where like nobody can really find all the zeros of the function. They all land in this like weird little strip. But yeah, 3 blue, 1 brown does a good job about talking about the angle structure too. So this idea of when we have these really nice maps in the complex plane, we want angles to be preserved between vectors. So but yeah, I would say take a look at that. It'll be able to explain some of these concepts a lot better than I can, just because I don't have the in-depth background about some of these topics. Yeah, nice. If you want to, you can share that in the Discord if you want. But a lot of the work that I did, I think I closed my tab. A lot of the work that I did was in conformal mapping. So it's this idea of when you're working with these complex functions, and you're working with, what are they called? They're called they're not called lines. Kind of though. What would you call that? A contour, I guess, is what they're called. So you're working with contours, right? So you start at a particular point, you end at a particular point, and if you're looking at kind of the intersection between these two contours, after the transformation, you want that angle to stay the same. Those are nice kinds of maps. They don't distort the pictures bad enough that you can still kind of do calculus with them. So this is a lot of what I learned in complex and advanced complex analysis was working with these kinds of special maps where the angles are preserved. And the Riemann, I believe the Riemann zeta function is one of those functions, and the whole point of the Riemann zeta function is to kind of have this map get extended to the other kind of half plane that we're missing. But again, I'm not exactly sure how it's defined, exactly how, I don't exactly know where these contours come from. I just kind of know the basic premise. I have a screenshot of a dude explaining the whole thing. That's really cool. He used to stream on Twitch, and the dude is crazy into math. Yeah, I mean, those people exist, right? Here's in here asking dumb questions. No, there are no dumb questions in math, right? You can only get smarter by asking questions, I think, in mathematics. I thought this was kind of an interesting question. I'm kind of curious to give this one a shot. It says, place the numbers 1 to 8 twice in a 2x8 grid. 2x8 grid. that 2 by 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. Such that the 1s are a Manhattan distance of 1 apart, the 2s are a distance of 2 apart, and so on. The Manhattan distance between two numbers can be determined by counting the number of steps it takes to travel from one number to another. So this is interesting. So we have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Why don't we start with the biggest one? So let's say I put an 8 here. Can I put an 8 here? Well, a Manhattan distance counts by spaces. So we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 7. But I need these two 8s to be 8 away from each other. And even if I put the other 8 here and I counted like in a weird and erratic way, like 1, 2, 3, 4, I can't go back up. Otherwise, it's not Manhattan distance. So it does have to take a fairly rigid path to the other number. I wouldn't, for example, be able to, go 5, 6, 7. Like, I couldn't do that. That's just not how Manhattan distance works. It's kind of like the shortest walking path there. Like, if I could fly, you'd just go from point to point, right? But if you have to walk, you're kind of walking along sidewalks and streets and stuff. So I think the 8s are kind of forced to be like this, right? Like 1 has to be up here. And then we'd go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1 has to be up top, 1 has to be at the bottom. I think we're kind of forced. It's either this or we swap them, right? So that should take care of number 8. My instinct is to do the same thing with 7, but there's a lot more possibilities now with 7. And 1 gives me a hell of a lot of flexibility because the 1s just have to be beside each other. That's the only restriction. So I feel like I still want to work maybe with 7 and 6 first, just because they're rather big numbers. So Loim's, no, Manhattan doesn't allow us to snake around. It has to be like it would have to be like this. Like I could go down first and over, but it has to be like consistent. I could also like do like a couple over and then go down and then do the rest over. But all of our Manhattan distances, like the Manhattan distance is a unique number no matter what path we take to get there. So yeah, no, we can't be super fancy with our Manhattan distance, unfortunately. What if I put a 7 here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that 7 would have to go here. That would be fine. I could put a 6 in here. I really could put anything in here. But what if I put a 6 here? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'd need a 6 like somewhere over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be fun. I could put 5 here as well. Four, 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3. So that should be a potential grid. I don't know how many of them exist, or if there's a way to figure out how many grids could exist for 2 by n. So that's the question that was posed by PuzzleAndy. Is it possible, right? So for which 2 by n grids is it possible to place numbers 1 to n this way? And so he says, I think that there's more than one way. He's like, I'm pretty sure it's greater than or equal to 1. But this is interesting. He says 2 by 6. He says he can't find any ways to do a 2 by 6. I wonder what's special about a 2 by 6 grid. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's the same thing with the 8, right? You kind of have to start with the 6s in opposite corners, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the only way that that works. Either has to be above, below, or it could be like here and here as well. But you're kind of forced to take out those 2 spots. And then you, I guess naturally, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to naturally have to put a 5 in one of these spots. It's going to have to be one or the other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the other one's going to go, for example, here, or we're going to be kind of rotated around, right? So without loss of generality, those have to be our first 2 moves. So where could we put 4? We could put 4 here. 1, 2, 3, and then that makes 4 go here. So that's one possibility. I feel like I'm going to play like Sudoku or something. The other possibility, I guess, if I put 4 here, we could go 1, 2, 3. We could have a 4 here as well. If the 4 starts up here, we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's a couple different possibilities for 4. Maybe let's mark the starting points. So what if we did a 4 here, 1, 2, 3, and a 4 here? Then we could put like a 3. We can go 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. So 3s are going to have to be kind of here. We don't want to put it there, otherwise we're going to get stuck. And then I think the issue is now that I have the number 2 that has to be 2 steps away, it doesn't really matter where I put the 2, I get kind of screwed, right? If I do it like this, because the 1s are now too far away from each other. If I do the 2 here, the 1s are too far away. So that's not going to work. And I think the same issue happens here, right? I need to have the 2s. So the 3 can't go here. Can it go here? 1, 2, 1, 2. No, it can't go here. So 3 can't go here. 3 can't go here. Can it go here? 1, 2, yeah, so it can go here. If we do that, then we run into the same problem that we had before, the symmetry problem. Because I know the 2s have to be at least 1 space away from each other, but the 1s have to be beside each other. So if I start a 3 here, that's no bueno. If we start a 3 here, 1, 2, then the other one has to be here, but we know that we can't have a 3 over there. So that's no good. I don't think I can have a 3 here. That doesn't make any sense. So there's no, if I start the 4s there and there in red, I have no possibility No possibility of placing a 3. So let's not put the 4s there, and let's put them somewhere else. Maybe I'll mark it in red so I know which pairs I've looked at. So we did this one first. What if we do this one, and 1, 2, 3, this one? If we do that, I guess we could put a 2, we could put a 2 or a 3 here, couldn't we? But if I put a 2, what happens if I put a 2 here? That forces a 2 here. Levi, hello man, how you doing? Oh, follow age. I don't think I have that set up on StreamerBot yet. I'm sorry. I'll look into that. I'll be better. I'll be better this summer, I promise. April's a really shitty month for me. Yeah, PuzzleAndy, we did the I did the general case of this problem, where instead of assuming that the side lengths were 1, I assumed that they were side lengths of x. But you did have to have an assumption here that those were squares. So just having the lines as congruent wouldn't be enough. I would also need these to be squares. But as long as they're squares, you can it will work in the general case, which is kind of cool. Oh, you saw it? Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah. It was a cool little problem. I'm happy that I did the general case. And so yeah, I found a possibility for the 2x8. And I was curious as to why your 2x6 didn't work. Yeah, Levi's a good person to ask this question. Do you remember more about the Riemann zeta function? Because Noyce and Loims were asking a little bit about the Riemanns. I know we've talked about it before, but I can't remember. I can't remember lots of details. So I do what I do best. I just refer to 3 blue, 1 brown. That's what I do when I don't know the answer to something. Okay, so if... Yeah, we were saying, if we put a 2 here, that forces a 2 to be here, and then I think we're in not good water, right? Because I can't put a 3 anywhere. So that means a 2 can't go here. It has to be a 3. In which case I go 1, 2, I can have the 3 here, or I can go 1, 2, 3 here. If I put the second 3 here, we run into the same problem with the 1 and the 2 that we did before. So we don't want to put it there. Let's try here. But that forces our 1s to be in a place where the 2s just won't work. So that's interesting. So I can't have the 4s here because I can't place a 2 or a 3 in this upper corner. So this pair for 4 doesn't work. Where else can we put 4s? I could put a 4 here, and I can go 1, 2, 3, and I could put a 4 here. So this is another possibility. I think this is the last possibility, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. But what if I put 1 here? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I can't put 1 here. So where can't I put a 4? I can't put a 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think I can put a 4 here because I don't have enough spaces. And it'll be the same in here, right? So 4s just can't be placed in those spots. These are the last 2 places. This is the last position where we could place 4s. And if we can't figure out how to make it work. figure out how to make this work. We're done. We're done. We're toast. I agree with you, yeah. So I think the 6 and the 5 are forced, absolutely. And then I had 3 possible positions for the 4s. One position was in red, one position is in green. We've already canned out those possibilities, and the last position here is in blue. And if the 4s don't work here, then we've basically ruled out all the cases. And so the issue here now, so this is the last possibility for 4, so if it doesn't work, we're toast. Let's see, let's start placing or thinking about where we can put our 3s, right? So if I put a 3 here, Manhattan distance is 1, 2, 3 away. It would have to be here, or 1, 2, 3. It'd have to be here or here. If I put it here, that won't work because we have this L shape. As soon as we have this L shape, so I've noticed this, if we have a shape that looks like this, we can't put 1s and 2s here. So as soon as you get stuck in a shape that looks like that, it's just impossible to put the 1s and 2s because the 1s have to be beside each other. So you have what, 1, 2, 3 different possibilities for the 1s, but it's going to force the 2s not to have the correct Manhattan distance. Yeah, so an L gives you an L. Absolutely, Loims. Yeah, an L delivers an L. So the 3 can't go there. So it would have to go 1, 2, it'd have to be here. So now we have kind of chopped up spots. So the 1s would have to be beside each other, right? The 1s would either have to be here or here. And again, that's going to ruin the Manhattan distance for our 2s. So the 3 can't go here. What if we decided to put it up here? 1, 2 would have to be here. And that's going to force the 1s to be here. And the 2s don't have the right Manhattan distance. So we can't have a 3 here. Could we have a 3 here? 1, 2, 3, yes. And there's going to be no spaces where we can put the 2s again. Oh no, we could put the 2s, but we wouldn't be able to put the 1s. Yeah. So if I, as soon as I slot the 1s in here, then the 2s are too close to each other. So a 3 here doesn't work. If we put a 3 here, that's going to force us to have a 3 in a spot where we don't want it. So that's no good. If we put a 3 here, that's going to force us to put a 3 in a spot where we don't want it. And I think the same thing happens here. If I force a 3 here, that's going to put me in a spot it's going to be no bueno. So yeah, we get stuck. We can't actually place the 4s down. We've exhausted all the possibilities for 4, so 2 by 6 is unsolvable. 2 by 6 is unsolvable. Interesting. So weird. So 2 by 6 is not possible. Is 2 by 5 possible? Again, you're going to have to probably just start out, right? The 5s are fixed, and then the 4s are probably fixed as well, right? 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's so interesting. Your first 2 moves are always fixed, aren't they? And you always get a block here. Yeah, okay, so your first 2 moves are always fixed, and you always get the open block. So what was it? So I put 6. I put the 6 over there in my arrangement for the 2 by 8. So sure, let's put the 3 here. 1, 2, 3. 2, 2, 1, 1. So a 2 by 5 is possible. So why didn't it work here? We try to put the 4 and go 1, 2, 3, 4. But there were 3 different possibilities for the 4. I didn't necessarily have to put the 4 there. Weird. So a 2 by 5 is possible. I assume all the other ones probably have a solution. And these are probably... Are these unique solutions as well? Let's see. There's only one other way to put the 3 up here, right? I could put the 3 here, and then I could go 1, 2, 3. And then I could put the 2s and the 1s in like this. So there's actually 2 possibilities here, right? There's 2 solutions for the 2 by 5, right? So 6 is not working. It's kind of wild, yeah. So 2, 3, and 6 are the known sizes that don't work. 2, 3, and 6. Interesting. So 2 possibilities here. Okay, the 2 by 4. The 2 by 4 is again going to be fixed up to here. And the only thing that I can put over here is the 2. So there's going to be one solution for the 2 by 4. I think you're going to be forced into 1, right? Okay, if we start to get the... Oh, there's another one. Interesting. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Wait. And someone else who solved it also made that mistake. Oh, I see. No, the 3 has to... The 3 either has to be here or here. It's got to be one or the other. 1, 2, 3, 4. We put the 3 here. 1, 2... Oh, I see. You could do the 2 here or here as well. So there's 2 solutions, depending on where you want to put the 2. Yeah. Okay. So you do want to have the 2 here, but you could have the 2 here or here. So that'll lead you to 2 different possible solutions. Okay, got it. And there was something about the 3 that didn't work, you said, right? So the 2 by 3... Yeah, the 2 by 3 doesn't work. So when you get a pattern like this as well, so yeah, if you run into this like little Z pattern, I've noticed that the 1s and 2s can't be placed properly. So there's 2 different kinds of tilings that give you issues. The L gives you an issue, and then it looks like the Zs give you an issue as well. So if we run into something that looks like that, we're going to have some troubles with the 1s and 2s. Obviously a 2 by 2 won't work, right? Because the 2s have to be in the corners. So the 2 by 2 shouldn't have any solution either. So it's interesting that 6 doesn't work, eh? 6 doesn't work. Have you tried 7? Does 7 work? 2 by 7? There's a way to do the 2 by 1? Oh, I guess you just put the ones beside each other, yeah. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. So the 2 by 4 has 2 solutions, like you said. The 2 by 5 has 2 solutions, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I feel confident that I've proved that the 2 by 6 has 0 solutions. 2 by 7 is unknown. 2 by 7 is unknown. Okay, let's see. Let's put a dent in this one. So we know there's at least one solution for the 2 by 8. Probably more, because the 2 by 8 gives a lot of flexibility in where we put some of these numbers. So let's try it for 2 by 7. Now I'm curious. My interest has been piqued. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And if my memory serves me correctly, our first 2 moves are dictated to us, always. So that means we're essentially left putting the numbers 1 through 5 in the remaining 10 spaces. And my instinct says I should probably try Oh, this is interesting though. This is interesting. This is interesting. Something has happened. Something has happened. What is my brain saying? What is my brain saying? My brain is saying that this is the 2 by 3 grid. But you do have the numbers 1 through 4 here though, so it's not obvious that that could help us though, because it does seem like after your first 2 moves, you do get stuck with a subgrid, right? You get stuck with, in this case, we have the 2 by 4. We do have 5 numbers to put in though, right? So I don't know if that's helpful. I don't know if you can turn this into an induction kind of proof, because these subgrids always look the same, don't they? Well, I guess let's start working with 5. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 could go here, or it could go here, one or the other. I'm going to keep it up top. And then I'm going to stick 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay. So I know that that's not going to work. I automatically know that's not going to work. Because now I have a 2 by 3 subgrid with only the numbers 1, 2, and 3, and I know that it's not possible.
Deliver perfect results.
PuzzleAndy, thank you very much for the subscription. Much appreciated. I think here you might be able to use the subgrid idea, right? Like, so here, after I've placed the 5 and the 4 down, I notice that I have a subgrid that's a 2 by 3 subgrid. We know that the 2 by 3 can't be populated. So I know, for example, I can't pick this, I can't put my 5s and 4s this way, right? It's just not going to work because I know I can't fill in this 2 by 3 subgrid with 1s, 2s, and 3s. So that's interesting. So we might be able to use that to our advantage here. So if I keep the 5s here, where else could I put the 4s? If I wanted to, I could still keep a 4 here, and I could go 1, 2, 3, 4. But I think we're going to start to run into some issues here with the 3. Because I want to... I have to put the 3, like, in one of these outside spots. Like, if I put it here, then I could have the 3 here, but that gives me one of the shapes that I don't want. I could put the 1, 2, I could put it here, but that gives me a shape that I don't want. Can I put the 3 here? 1, 2, 3. So we could do something like that. But then the 1s and 2s don't work, right? The 1s and 2s don't work. Can I put a 3? I don't think I can put the 3 here. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, we're not good enough here. I could put the 3 here. 1, 2, 3, but that's going to give us something that we had before. I could put the 3 here. 1, 2, 3. That's going to give us, I think, a similar problems with the 1s and 2s. So the last place was here, but 1, 2, the only way, yeah, so that's going to give me a problem. So I can't place the 3s down if I do 4s like this. And those are the only places to put the 4s if I decide to have the 5s like this. So here's the other possibility for the 5, right? Or no, is there one more? If I put a 5 here, could I do 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah, there is another possibility for the 5. So what happens if the 5s are here? Where could we smack the 4s in? So 1, 2, 3, 4. This looks like it works for some reason. Channeling your inner psychic. That's impressive. It definitely has some promise, because there's a bunch of, like, corners. The 1s are going to be a bit of a pain, because the 1s are going to have to land somewhere up here. I still think the 1s are going to be a bit of a bugger to work with here. Like, you basically have to put... You have a symmetric thing, and you basically have to put a 2 here and a 3 here, right? You have to. So I think because you're forced to put a 2 and a 3 here in these openings, you're stuck, right? Because that's going to force that 3 to be here. There's no other possible pairing, right, for the 3, right? The 3 has to be... It's got to be here and here, right? That's the only way to do it, so that's going to break up all your spots for the 1. So those 4s don't work. Do these 4s work? I don't think so. You get the dreaded Z again, right? The dreaded Z is just not good. So where else could we try? We could go 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the last possibility, but that's gonna, I think, be a no-go as well, maybe. 3, 1, 2, 3. And I think you're gonna have a problem with the 1s and 2s again. That's really interesting. I wish I should be trying to keep track of all the places I put the 5s. Have we exhausted all of the places to put the 5s? Because we did like this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? We did this one. And we looked at all the different positions for the 4. We did this one. And so the only other place that we could do would be here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and here, right? If that's the case, so if that's the case, this is our last possibility for the 5s. Nope. I think you're just going to run into these very similar shapes, right? We should probably start keeping track of these shapes that don't work. I think this is one of those shapes that doesn't work. $1,300 bliss on chess.com. Nice. Nicely done. There you go, Levi, just for you. Well done, my friend. He's getting prepared for his tournament. Not a distraction at all. I can do math and talk about chess at the same time. Come on. So I think we're going to get stuck here too, right? I don't think we can put the 4 in too many different places. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's a possibility, which is going to force the 3 to be here and here, and we know that's not going to work. So we could do 4, 1, 2, nope, we can't do the 4s in here, right? So it's either got to be here and here, or it would have to be here and 1, 2, 3 and here. Which again is going to force our 3s to be here, so that one's not going to work either. So I don't think that the 2x7 works, because I think we've exhausted all the possibilities for 5. So if you get a chain chomp, you can't put 1s, 2s, and 3s in there. It just doesn't work. Did you try the 4 shifted right one? The 4 shifted right one. 4 in the corner, 4 in the corner, and 4 in the bottom row. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 here. Let's take a peek. I think the 3 is going to screw us again here, right? Because the 3 now has to be put in an L shape, here or here, or here and here. So the 3s and the 1s are going to be, it's just not possible to put the 1s, 2s, and 3s in this kind of configuration. We just can't put them in an igloo. So that, I think that exhausts all the possibilities we have for 5. What a fun little problem to think about, though. Holy moly. But I wonder, so we've been tackling it with the highest We've been tackling it with the highest, which is, oh, it's good news. Okay. Because 7's a prime number? But 5 works. Why is it good news? Define good news. So another way to think about this is if you have the numbers 1 to n and you have a grid, a 2 by n grid, the first two moves are always dictated. We always need n here and n here in the opposite corners without loss of generality. And then you have to put n minus 1 above n. And then the other n minus 1 has to go here, again without loss of generality, right? In other words, we're always playing with a subgrid plus 2 boxes. So we're always playing with a subgrid. How big is this subgrid? If this is n units long, we're going to take 3 boxes away. So this should be a 2 by n minus 3. And then we have these kind of plus 2 weird boxes. Oh, not working in pairs is good. So 2, 3 we're fine, 6 and 7 we're not. So I guess the next step is looking at 9. But is this true? I'm just kind of want to think about the game plan here. So if we're working in, say, a 2 by... need to make sure I have a big enough grid. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a 2 by 6. As soon as we put the 6s in and the 5s in, we're left with a 2 by 3 plus 2. Yeah. Two, 3, 2 plus 4, 3 plus 4. I'm not exactly sure what you're thinking about inductive-wise, but I'll hold on to that in my back pocket. So you always have a 2 by n minus 3 plus extra 2. So I'm wondering if it's because of these extra 2 blocks. Let's take a look at a couple smaller cases again. So the 2 by 4 we know works, right? And the 2 by... Wait, what did we say worked and didn't? 2 by 4, 2 by 5 both worked. So let's compare the 2 by 5 and the 2 by 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And maybe just for the sake of making this easier, we'll just kind of do them in the same arrangement so that we always have our upper corners looking the same. Or 2 kind of off ones kind of looking the same. So a 2 by 2. So what are the numbers we have left here? So here we would have 3, 2, and 1 left. Here we would have 4, 3, 2, and 1 left. Now 1 can't go in this box, but 2 or 3 could. So 1 can never go in this box. So 1 is always going to be forced to take up space somewhere else. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different places where we could put the ones. Here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ways to place the ones. So this is 2 by 2, so that means 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 2 by 2 is 4, add 1 for 5. That's awfully written mathematics. Here it would be a 2 by 3 grid, which is 6 possibilities. So how did I get 8? Oh, I see. There's 1, 2, 3. There's 1, 2, 3 ways, and for each one of these that I... Okay, so multiplication is not the easiest way to do this. We need 2 plus 2 plus 1. That's what I'm kind of wondering. I'm wondering if the way that it's constructed leads to an arrangement working or not working or something like that. Like there's something about something about the arrangements not working. Like I'm just wondering if I can find something like that. I think we can also probably argue that 2 is never allowed to go in here as well, right? We can probably make that argument, couldn't we? So this corner here, we can never put 1 or 2. Because as soon as we do that, we run into a contradiction. The 5 worked in two different ways. The 6 was the one that I think we proved didn't work, right? And then I think we have a pretty good sense that 7 doesn't work either. So I'm trying to compare the case of the 2 by 5 and the case of the 2 by 6, because I'm wondering if there's something about the setup or the structure that can help us generalize what would work and what wouldn't work. So I'm kind of looking at, we have these kind of like two awkward boxes, right? That there's always going to be like a little grid, right? There's always a 2 by something grid plus these two boxes after your first two moves. So I think we can probably make an argument that certain numbers are going to have to be put into like these corner boxes, or that ones can only go in certain spots, and that's going to cut down on what we're able to do. Like I just have an intuition about that, but that's cool. Someone proved by construction that when n is a multiple of 4, it works. That's crazy. So every multiple of 4 works. That's super cool. So they proved n equals 4 and then used that for 8, 12, 16. Interesting. But that means that it's an inductive proof and it relies on the n equals 4 step. Whoa, 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 what? So the n equals 8 step relies on the n equals 4 step? That would be cool. Is that true? So could we make it dependent on the 4 step? Yeah, you can. That's crazy. If I put 6 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if I put 5 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so now I have the 2 by 4 nested inside of the 2 by 8. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's nutty. That's really cool, though. So that means the... What? That means that if you add 4 more numbers, it's all about the Manhattan distance then here. Okay, okay. So if we went out a little bit more, we'd have to add 4 more numbers, right? So it'd have to be 12. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 11 would be here. Oh, I see why you have to go up by 4 because of that weird diagonal thing. Huh. And then 10 could go here. Yeah, and then 9 could go here. Cool. So the 2 by 4 can be used to prove any multiple of 4 by induction. That's really cool. That's nuts. I live for this stuff, bro. I live for this stuff. But yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense that you'd have to do it in a block of 4 because you always get these like weird angles, right? That's really cool. That's really cool. So that explains a couple of things. I mean, we don't really care about the 2 by 1, I don't think. I think that's a boring example. Maybe not. Maybe not. We know the 2 by 1 works. So what if we added blocks of 4 on either side? That would give me the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? The 2 by 5. And we could fill in stuff like this. That's nuts. So if you happen to know that a particular grid works, you can always add 4 to it, a multiple of 4 to it, and it should work. Huh. Whoa, that's nuts. So what do you know works again? You know that 1 works, 4 works, and 5 works. That's interesting. So 1's going to lead you down a path to 5, and then, yeah, we can use that to prove 9, right? We can just keep adding 4 to it, right? We know that 4 works. 4 leads us to every possible multiple of 4. And then we know that 5 works too, right? So 5, I guess that's less exciting because that leads us to the same path as before. So these are unique starting points, 1 and 4. So my instinct says that if we can find enough starting points, then eventually every possibility would have to work, right? If we found another good starting point. So I mean, 5 doesn't do anything for us because we already know it works. So what do we know? We know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1 works, 2 does not, 3 does not, 4 does, but I'm going to circle it in a different color. 5 works, 9 works. These are the same starting points. 4 works. 4 gives us 8, 12, 16, and so on. We know that 6 and 7 do not work. So the next one that we would want to check would be number 10. Is it possible to build a 10? A 10 that worked? Or alternatively, is it possible to show that we just couldn't do it? So you think 2, 6, 10, and 14 fail for some reason. 3, 7, 11, and 15 would be the other ones to look at too, and they would fail for some reason as well. Cool. So if our thinking's right though, I mean, shouldn't we be able to start with the smallest grid, and we could maybe make an inductive argument as to why we can't increase that grid? Could we do something like that? So suppose we start with a 2 by 2. We know it does not work. Right, there's no way to put the 2s and 1s in here. It doesn't make any sense. So when we increase it and go out to 6, because we have to add blocks of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have to add blocks of 4 on either side. So here's our original 2 by 2. If I add more stuff on the outside, remember that we're forced to choose our first 2 moves. I guess the only difference now is you have multiple ways. No, we can use the argument that this can't be 1 or 2. That corner can't be 1 or 2. 1 can't go in there, otherwise it fails. 2 can't go in there because then you're going to have 2, 2, and you have nowhere to put the 4. So the only numbers that can go in this box are 3 and 4. That's it. So if that's the case, right, I guess you have to go through all the possibilities, which kind of sucks. And there are going to be possibilities that break the 2x2 grid, right? Which kind of sucks. Yeah. Although all the possibilities, I think, that break the 2 grid are going to lead you to one of the following. It's going to lead you to an L, or it's going to lead you to one of these Zs. So I think there's still probably an argument that can be made, right? Like, what if we put a 4 here? We go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then we go 3 and 3. So we can't do it in our usual way because we know we can't populate the 2x2, right? So the usual way doesn't work. So if I put a 4 here, I could also do 1, 2, 3, 4, right? This is the one of the other possibilities. I think that's the only other possibility for the 4. No, there's another possibility out here. There's one here and 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think what you do is you populate this with your kind of second highest number. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So we know that that one doesn't work because the 3s... The 3s are going to lead us down dark paths, right? Okay, so either we get our 2x2 grid, or the way we have to arrange the 3s gives us one of the patterns we don't want. Okay, so that's the first option. Next option is 1, 2, 3. We could have 4 here and here. But we know that because we have this igloo shape, we can't populate that with 1s, 2s, and 3s. So that's no bueno. If I put the 4 here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, that's gonna... that doesn't force the 3 to be over here. That wouldn't work. That won't work. 1, 2, 3, that won't work. So you have nowhere to put the 4. But that seems like a lot of proof business. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a lot of work for something that's probably going to be a bit more straightforward. Anyway, I do have some whining puppies, guys. I probably have to go get them. It's probably around dinner time for them. So I think we're going to peace out here for the day. And hopefully you've enjoyed the stream. We did some puzzles today, a little bit different from what I normally would do. I'm just going to do a quick little check. What do we got here in the elements? Holy smokes. So this is an explanation about some stuff. Okay, cool. So Noyce's explanation, I think that must be the Riemann zeta function. So that chat is up there under, where was that? Under college maths? College maths, for those of you that are curious and want to read. It's definitely big boy integrals for the Riemann zeta function, absolutely. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed hanging out today. Thank you, PuzzleAndy, for a couple of really interesting things to think about today. I feel like we're so close. I feel like if I had, 3 more days to think about this problem, we could probably figure it out. I only need 3 more days. That's all I need. Just 3 days. All right, so I'm signing out. I will hopefully be back for a shortened stream tomorrow. I normally would stream around 5 o'clock on Thursday, but I do have my department meeting tomorrow. I do have a retirement party tomorrow evening as well, so the timing tomorrow might be a little bit weird. I'll keep you guys posted on Discord if I can jump in. It might be a little bit later. It might be closer to the 7 p.m. mark tomorrow night. So hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow. And yeah, stay positive, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.